Move through life.
That's right. And, being in that, a lot of us are so normal. We normalize so much anxiety, so much stress, so much strain, so many just issues that we don't know how to return and oftentimes back to equilibrium.
Yeah.
The mindful meditation that we just had before we started this session is a way that you can take a few seconds to return back to equilibrium. You're breathing. You concentrating on deep breaths and your diaphragm raising and you exhaling and being intentional and thoughtful in that process can bring you back to equilibrium. I think it's very important first to be aware that your body is going through, your body and your mind are going through these changes.
Self-awareness piece.
That's right. Yeah. Being aware of these not only emotional changes, not only mental changes, but we're talking physiology. Yeah. We're talking about how your body is reacting to stress and strain and anxiety, right? And it's actually creating certain chemicals in your body that gives you autoimmune diseases. It gives you autoimmune issues, right? So if we can just come down, right? Just like Abigail said, a lot of people are living on 10, living up scared, living
all
up
the time,
fighting, living up freezing. But if you can just feel yourself getting there before you get there, just
already proactively bring yourself down.
Find yourself some ways that you like to refill your cup. Absolutely. In a world in which we are constantly filling other people's cups, constantly pouring into other people's lives, planting seeds, doing for, helping for, being the light. We so much have to remember to replenish ourselves, to tap into our source until our cup runneth over, and then we can pour into each other the way we're supposed to.
Yeah, I think the more we talk about fight or freeze, I go back in my mind, and I remember I was a sophomore in college.
So good times.
Right? Take us all the way back. Sophomore in college, and it's a normal day. I went to class in the morning, I went to work in the afternoon, and I had another class, and the professor was like, you know what? We're not going to have class today. It's 2 days before the Easter weekend or the spring weekend or whatever. Go enjoy your weekend, enjoy your families. We'll see you when we return. So I'm like, yes. Right. Nobody enjoys anything more than when your college professor cancels a class.
That's right.
So I take the long way back to my apartment. I'm enjoying the sun. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have class today. I'm going to take a nap.
Oh.
Anybody who ever knows, after work or after college naps are a whole different level of amazing. So I go to sleep and I wake up and I'm like, oh man, I figure out what I'm gonna eat for dinner. We were actually supposed to have a concert that night, and I check my phone, and my entire family has been calling and texting. Where are you? Are you okay? And I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? Who died? What did I miss? What is happening? So I call my mom back, and I'm like, what's happening? What's wrong? I'm fine. What's going on? And she's like, there's an active shooter on campus. Where are you? Are you safe? I was like, I've been asleep. I'm
well
fine.
rested.
Right. I feel fine. And immediately I noticed that when she said active shooter, my heart dropped and my heart rate started racing, and I was like, what the heck? So I go out in my living room. My roommates are just getting home because their classes were evacuated or whatever, and they were able to get back to our apartment. And we turn on the news, and it's the only thing on the news, and we just see our campus repeatedly on the news. And the big thing is they have no idea where this guy is. They have no idea if he's the only one. We don't have a ton of information right now. They're doing the very best that they can to figure it out. But I went to a college campus of 30,000 people. Over half of those people had been evacuated off the campus to I think it was the local Harris Teeter or something, to just get people off campus so they could decipher between safe and unsafe people. So we were told to stay put. Great. We're in our apartment. Our school was very good with security, so it would have been very difficult to get into the building. But until that night, until I found out it was 6:30, till about 5 a.m. the next morning, we had helicopters looking on campus.
It's a very intense situation.
Yeah. You hear the chopper, and and you see the spotlights and they come through every about 10-15 minutes, and you're like, and for us it's like, oh my god, have they not caught him yet?
Right.
Like, this has been an all day thing. So not many people had much sleep, but by the time those of us were able to fall asleep, when we woke up in the morning, they had him in custody. That kind of made everybody feel a little bit better. And then the next thing is like they kind of hit us with a twofer. The next thing was, pack up all your essentials, everybody's got to go. And we're like, huh? We still have an entire month of school left. My parents are not ready to pick me up. Like, what? So we're like running around, people trying to find boxes, people trying to pack up their stuff. Parents are like, I don't really care about any of that stuff. I'm coming to get you. Right. I booked you a flight. You get on that flight without any of your belongings. Get home. So it was like, okay. So everybody's packing up their stuff. We're leaving. We had until about 4 p.m. that day to clear and just be gone. So I packed up as much stuff as I possibly could in my little car, and I was like, all right, well, we're leaving. And it was very interesting to see the remnants of that day. Like, there were books on the ground, there were backpacks on the ground, there were bicycles just like left in. It looked like post-apocalyptic in a movie, because you were just supposed to drop everything, walk out with your hands up, and get to where the police said then you were safe. So seeing that huge campus like that, you would have thought that we had a tornado or who knows what. And I think it's really interesting that we talk about run, fight, or freeze, because the text message that the emergency services sent out was run, fight, or hide. No context.
That's kind of...
What am I running from?
Right. Who am I fighting?
I'm not going to fight anything, but who am I fighting? And what am I hiding from?
Right.
And it was like a 3-hour gap between that text message and them telling us it was an active shooter. So it's like, what?
Yeah,
we're doing
tough.
What? And, you know, we think about it every year, especially those of us that were on campus. We will never be able to, one, think about that day the same. And two, we'll never be able to forget the 2 students who lost their lives that day because they protected the other students in that classroom. They were our heroes because they stood up and decided in their moment, their reaction was to fight. And theirs was to protect and to fight and to keep as many people safe as absolutely possible. While the rest of us were being told that we had to flee, even if there might have been some more people with the courage to fight, but you were being directed that you have no choice. You've got to get out of here. And I'm sure that there were people, especially in that classroom, who froze. Like, not even thinking about hiding in a certain spot, but you're just stuck because you don't know what's going to happen. And so having to bring ourselves off of that emotional, 48 hours was a lot of processing for a lot of people. And it took a lot of people a lot of time to come back down to equilibrium because you're still processing what just happened. And the longer that you think about it and the more that you process it, the longer you stay on 10 because it's a scary situation. So when you're finally able to come back to equilibrium, now anybody who was there at that time, we're able to talk about it without those feelings and that anxiousness arising. And we feel our heart rates don't increase when we talk about it anymore. And we feel calm and we don't feel scared and we don't feel like we need to make a life or death decision anymore. But that comes with being willing to acknowledge that you're in an unsafe space in your body and realizing, okay, I need to figure out what I need to do to bring myself back down. And once you come to that self-awareness and that self-actualization piece, it'll be a lot easier to bring yourself from a 10 back to equilibrium. And it's not something that happens, it didn't happen that night. We weren't going to come back down to 0 that night while we have no information.
How long did it take?
For me, it was a few months. It took me
I remember you battling that.
A while. And I even, I took my entire family with me to get the rest of my belongings in June when they told us that we could come get our stuff, because I was so terrified to go back to that campus by myself because we didn't know, nobody really knew what could happen after, what would happen after, nobody was sure. And so it was those things that being surrounded by people who cared about me and who loved me and who were protecting me made it easier to go back and reclaim my possessions from this space that is nothing but trauma and everything.
Yeah.